A new report into Mycoplasma bovis says good progress is being made controlling the infection and eradication is feasible. However, the technical advisory group says the response will need to continue for some time and that, quote, social licence is important to ensure M. bovis can be successfully eradicated. Geoff Gwyn is MPI's Director of Response and he joins us now on the phone. Good evening.
Good evening, Lisa. How are you?
Very well, thank you. What does social licence mean in this case?
Oh, look, I think it's the willingness of farmers to continue to do the right thing to support the response, and obviously the wider public's at least knowledge of the response and that it's tracking in the right direction. After all, it's taxpayers' money we're spending.
So you need the farmers to cooperate, basically, to make it happen?
Oh, absolutely, and I think that's critical to all of us, particularly our partners, Dairy NZ and Beef and Lamb. If the farmers are unable to support the response, then, and to be honest, we can't do it from an office in Wellington.
Is there any suggestion that they're not supporting you in any way?
No, nothing that I've seen, Lisa. I think the farmers, I've seen vast improvements in NAIC compliance, for example. I'd use as one indicator, and every farmer I've met wants to do the right thing here.
So in terms of NAIC compliance, so this is tracking stock movements when cows are passed from one farm to another. Breaking the rules around that, animal tracking, is a large part of the reason why we've kind of got ourselves into this mess, isn't it? So I wonder, how many infringement notices have you issued for not following animal movement rules?
Look, I think the number sits around 100, but I think what's more important is there's been a large number of warnings given in relation to non-compliance, where farmers have had the opportunity to actually firstly be aware of what their obligations are, and in the main they've all taken that on board and corrected their actions. So I think that's encouraging. Okay,
so 100 notices, but how many warnings have you given out?
Oh, look, I think the number, it's actually Osprey that gives out those warnings, and I think it is in the vicinity of several hundred now.
Okay, so how confident are you that they're compliant now with stock movements?
Oh, look, I think, in my view, is compliance is improving. It's still not 100%, but the other point I'd make is if we didn't have NAIC, we wouldn't have even embarked on this exercise. So if we didn't have NAIC, we would never have got out of the starting gate. So it's a double-edged sword. It has helped us to do this, but it's also in some instances hindered it.
So you said it's not at 100%, so where do you think it's sitting then?
Oh, look, if I was to estimate, I think it's probably... It's actually in a couple of places. Firstly, in terms of animal movements to the works, I think the compliance is sitting in the high 90s. Between farm, my estimation would be in the vicinities of 70 to 80%. I think an area that could still do with improvement is the movement of calves, for example. But again, there's a large amount of work going on by both Osprey and legislative change to improve the system and the compliance with the system.
This report confirms that you're tracking a single strain, so no other infection, right? It's a single one. That's got to make it easier to find the source, doesn't it? So where are you at with that?
In terms of the source, we continue investigations into the source. We still have no more evidence than I had some months ago to tell you in terms of us being able to isolate a pathway. It's rare in these circumstances for us to find the smoking gun.
So are you never going to find the source? Is that the realistic outcome, that the source will never be found?
Well, look, I'm not prepared to say that at the moment because we still have ongoing compliance investigations and technical investigations into the source. So we're certainly continuing to lift every stone. Whether or not we find it, obviously until those investigations are complete, I'm not really able to comment.
And before you go, how many compensation claims outstanding?
Look, I think we've paid some 37 million against an assessed value of 44 million, and I think the good news from our perspective is we've paid some 7 million over the last 4 weeks. So it's certainly our pace at getting the claims out the door has improved exponentially in the last 6 months.
Thank you for joining us this evening. That's Geoff Gwyn, who is the Director of Response for MPI, and that's on the Mycoplasma bovis infection.